Hi. I guess I can probably turn my big light on. There we go. Hi. We're fairly blurry currently. But yeah, we are both hosts, I guess, of Collective Mind, and we're gonna try to do a Q&A knitting stream. So if I can get this to not be tangled up in anything. Hey Ellie. Hey Mia. How are you two today? Oh gosh, can I even talk? How are you doing today? Hey Ghost. You guys are co-fronting too. We haven't been streaming as much anyway, Ellie, so it was pretty good timing, I guess. We're trying to get back on top of it, but it's been harder than we expected. I'm sorry you're worn out. We shifted back our stream schedule to start later in the day, so hopefully that'll be more doable for us. Oh, you're in finals, Ellie? Yeah. Does sound stressful. Mm. I should go to a different station that's less likely to trigger other people. Where is that one? Here. I miss some aspects of school, but like the stress of deadlines and stuff is not one of them. Oh yeah, having to mask more when traveling. That can be a lot too. We're having to cut back on therapy a little bit while we wait to find out how insurance changes are going to impact it for sure. I really hope we don't have to get a new therapist though, because we've been with this same therapist since before Aura even knew about the system for like 5 years or something, like total, not 5 years before she knew, but a long time. And it takes a while to build up that much trust with someone new. The two of us have been co-fronting a lot lately because we're getting back into a book series that we really like. That Natalie, missed a lot, and like it's one of my favorite book series, I think. And Aura likes it a lot too, but also she would be here anyway, obviously. But it's been nice to have something that I really look forward to do when I'm fronting that's mine, you know? Yeah, it's weird how that happens sometimes where it'll end up working a lot differently than you expect it to with system stuff. Can be hard to predict. Do any of you have specific ideas for what you would be the most excited about for videos for us to make? wondering if that would help us get back into a rhythm of making more content. Yeah, reaction to Sandersides is one of the ones that we want to do. I think one of the things we've been struggling with that, other than just like working out the timing with Primal Pack and everything, is that some of the content coming up for Sandersides would normally be at least somewhat triggering for Jaden. And with everything that's been going on with Jaden, we don't know if that's a good idea or not. And we don't know like what would happen with that. I mean, the day in the life that we did wasn't really meant to be about pots. It just ended up showing off some of the pot stuff specifically. But our vlogging content is on Patreon. And a lot of the stuff that would be like interesting content, I guess, for a day in the life with DID, we wouldn't even want to film. Like, we wouldn't want to film if anybody was having flashbacks, obviously. And most of our system wouldn't want to be filmed when fronting in general. And don't want us to like say anything about them in videos and stuff. But then like our life in general is also pretty boring. we uh sorry. We spend most of our time just sitting here doing stuff. So yeah, I don't know what we would really say about collective pronouns necessarily. I know we made a video about gender as it relates to systems, just in general. Jade made that video, I think. The types of things that we would still do some, like, vloggy type content on the main channel for, I think, is if we, like, had a specific thing planned where we were gonna vlog. Like, when we did the aquarium, like, stuff like that. But even for that type of thing, a lot of the content might end up being more about pots than about DID. It just depends on how switchy we are and how we're doing for pots that day. I guess if we end up having to find a new therapist, we could maybe make some content about that. I guess I do still need to film I still need to film my... Wow, I'm not processing very well. Personality test video, I think, don't I? I as in Natalie. Some of the topic videos we were planning on doing soon were ones Jaden was gonna do, so I think that's another one of the things that has kind of disrupted our filming plans. Ones that Jaden was either gonna film or was going to have at least significant input in, like, planning it and approving what made it through the edit and stuff like that. Okay. I think I'm starting to do a little bit better. I was struggling a lot at first with, like, in response to everything going on with Jaden, because I was regularly getting their help with things that I struggle with when I'm fronting. But I think I'm starting to do a little bit better with that, so I might be able to film. It theoretically should be easier than streaming, so... we're through the bad stretch of traumaversaries now, and that was the first time we've ever had to deal with that whole season of traumaversaries without Jaden. Or Michael before them. But so we should be doing better in that way too. This song isn't a good idea right now. I think one of the things we have to do with the personality tests and stuff is to let go of the idea of doing it perfectly. And if we end up realizing that someone was influencing my answers or whatever, that's okay. You know? Because there's all kinds of things that could influence that. My answers could change if I'm not in a very good mood when I do it, or if I'm like triggered when I do it, or somebody else inside could be triggered in a way that I don't even know about and I don't even realize they're influencing me or whatever. But we were doing a little bit better now, but maybe we're not. But I don't even know what's going on. I'm just getting a lot of emotional bleed from whatever it is. But because I don't know what's going on or who it involves, I don't know if I should be like trying to switch with someone specific or making sure not to trigger someone specific who's already the one struggling, or whatever. Yeah, this station isn't a good idea either. I need to. I think Anna might need some time fronting. But I don't know if she would want that to be live or not. I guess let's just do this for now. What? Are you talking to me, Ellie? Oh. I was doing something on my computer for a bit. That didn't sound like me. One thing we do sometimes is if we feel like a burst of interest in something, like cartoons like you brought up, or other like kid things, or just things in general that whoever's fronting isn't normally drawn to, sometimes we take that as Like, we kind of assume it's interest from somebody else, even if we didn't otherwise notice anyone else around. And we might then do that to see if whoever it is ends up switching for a little bit to do that thing. I think Charlie's either thirsty or she's trying to check again if she missed any food earlier after we fed her. She's under our wheelchair for some reason. I don't know why she's decided to hide down there right now, but I guess I'll turn off her camera in the meantime. Maybe the light was bothering her or something. But she's laying down under our wheelchair. I wish I knew what was going on inside so I knew how to handle it. But I'm not getting enough to know who it is or what's going on or any of that. But someone's been struggling since at least last night. Or is running through all kinds of worst case scenarios, which probably isn't helpful. Especially since it could just as easily be things like someone who just would always be giving off that kind of emotional, like, bleed and everything. Like, what we're feeling could be normal for them, but they're just not normally this close. Like, it could just be that. Or, like, medium things, like someone's having a flashback or a breakdown of some kind, but isn't gonna split or anything like that because of it, just like a normal flashback or breakdown. And there are all kinds of things that I could try to do to help, but they're very different from each other, and there are a lot of situations where something that would help under different circumstances would make it worse if we did that thing under these circumstances. So without knowing what's going on, I can't really decide that I should, trigger Jade or trigger Alistair or trigger Anna or a gatekeeper or who knows. As far as I can tell, being live isn't making it worse. So, but if it starts to seem like that, then we'll have to go. Because that would be a consent issue at that point. If someone's stuck here and doesn't consent, then we would stop. I don't think it's Jade. Or Jaden, for that matter. think it's either a little, someone I don't know, or maybe Anna. Or someone in Anna's subsystem, even. Well, we got through the amount of yarn that pulled out of the middle all at once when we started this project. Which I think we had done before, but then we started it over to change what size needles we were using. But now we got through that again. She's looking at me like she needs to task. But I wouldn't really be able to keep knitting if she does that. Oh yeah, she's getting persistent. Did you wrap yourself around there? What? I'm live, but yeah.
Recommend.
Yeah, I'm streaming right now.
I know.
Yes. Okay.
Collective's awesome. You should sub.
Okay. I don't think anyone new is here, but maybe
That's okay. Do it anyway for anybody that's watching the replay.
Something's going on inside again, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know if I should do anything about it.
I'm sorry. Maybe try to ground.
Yeah, I guess. Well, Charlie got very distracted by Primal Pack, so maybe that problem's solved. Oh, not this song. Uh-oh. Won't be too late. Fine. Where's that? Okay. After this song, maybe I'll go to my station. I know a little bit more what's going on inside, but it's not something that we're going to share right now. But Aura doesn't need to keep worrying about it. She's just laying on the floor again. Okay. I'm busy. I don't know how much I can multitask this. Yeah, I know she's gonna worry anyway, but I was trying to tell her that the things she's the most worried about aren't happening. Like, none of her kids are splitting, for instance. I also hope she knows better that I would tell her immediately if something like that was happening. Yeah, they're both still here. Natalie might not be around as much in a bit once I start listening to my station, but we'll see. I'm gonna resituate a little bit. Did you have a question or something for one of them specifically? Is that why? Well, Charlie's trying to task again now. Okay. Come here then. Do you know what this would actually be a good time for? I could set that up pretty easily. You'd be really happy about it. Maybe I will do that. I'm a little worried that it'll be loud for stream, so I might mute for part of it. I'm putting this back on you just for a minute. Can I get it out of there without moving my legs again? Yes, barely. Nice. Where did that thing go? Uh-oh. You can't do it without that. Where'd it go? Oh, it's still hanging right here. Okay, good. Wait. Did it wrong again. Okay. Oh gosh, how do I say your name? Lutetia, maybe? Am I close? Sorry if we've already asked you how to pronounce it and forgot. We're not very good with names. Okay, yeah, this is probably going to be loud, so I'm going to mute while I finish setting it up. Okay. I'm setting up okay. We got a tray that we can put on our wheelchair to help us like carry stuff around on it without spilling it and to like eat on it and stuff. But we realized we can also put it on this office chair and put Charlie's pillow on top of it, and then she can do this. And she loved it last time when we first tried it, so we'll see if she likes it again. Come on, decide where you're going. Yeah. Oh yeah, good luck on your final. I think I will try to turn this back on in a way that shows her a little more. Something like that. I can't really knit now, but that's okay. Uh-oh. Nope. I have to stay here. Oh. Okay. Guess I'm listening to that. Yeah, Charlie is very happy about this. I think it might be even more comfortable for her than being on our lap with a pillow. And it's more comfortable for us because it doesn't hurt our legs like it sometimes does when she's in our lap. She's showing off. You're being cute on purpose. I was petting her and she kicked me in the stomach. It's pretty rude. I probably brushed up against her fur on her foot a tiny bit or something. She was reacting to that, but still. I think she did it on purpose. At some point, I should probably make a playlist of my songs that's just like the angry side of my music, or at least excluding the sad side. If you're talking about Charlie, Charlie is she was born early October 2017, I believe. So she's gonna be turning 6, I think. Wow. 6 in October. She still has a lot of puppy energy half the time, though. It's playing another sad one. I can skip that one. Maybe I need to be just like really specific and play certain songs. Where's my loud breakdown playlist? There we go. Maybe that'll work. If I just skip the sad ones. Well, then am I just basically playing my anger playlist? Or like the shared anger playlist? Because I could just do that. What else is on here? Anything? That one, I guess. And then I'll do that one, and then I'll switch to the other playlist. You need a haircut again, Charlie. Fully turning your back to the camera. How nice of you. Maybe it is the light that's bothering her. Yeah, I hope we have her for a long time still. Reformed persecutor means that I have a history of being a persecutor, but I am not actively a persecutor now. I've done a lot of work to not do that anymore. Combination of work and splitting and fusing and stuff, but still. We will also sometimes put reforming persecutor if someone is starting to do that, but isn't. Uh, not that you're ever like totally done, but there's still some active like persecutor stuff that they're doing. But they're actively working on it, you know? The more I think about it, I'm starting to think that I wasn't actually a persecutor for very long. Splitting as an adult is absolutely possible. Like, I think most, if not all, of our like experience being around systems and watching systems online and everything like would lean very heavily toward systems that have split as an adult, if not all of them having split at least once as an adult. I wasn't supposed to let this one play. Oh. We've split many, many times as an adult. Mm. I'm having a lot more trouble staying here than I expected. Yeah, it's been going up a lot. We're working on the next switching compilation to celebrate when we hit 500. Which I don't know if I've actually checked today if we're there yet. But yeah, that's part of why we really don't want to have to find a new therapist, just for like insurance reasons. Because we really like our therapist. And he's better informed, but he also like listens to us and does more research. If he doesn't know about something, he doesn't just like tell us that something can't work like that or whatever. There's a lot of stuff that I wonder if we'll be comfortable talking about publicly someday, but that we aren't right now. It's also really stressful to think about trying to find a new therapist without Jaden, because that would have been pretty much entirely their job. Like, vetting a new therapist would have been almost exclusively their job. Yeah, doing a bunch of triggering without consent would be a problem for sure. If we're pressured into any kind of well, anything really in a therapy, that would be a big red flag. But we're not going to give trigger information to any therapist until we trust them for a while. And even then, it would be for specific circumstances. Like, we might give a therapist a specific trigger and tell them exactly how to use it for the purposes of like whatever processing we're about to do. We don't give trigger information to most people anyway. But especially in that kind of a context, it would need to be like Like, it would be pretty extreme circumstances, especially for us to give a negative trigger to a therapist. It would be way more likely for us to, like, give a trigger for a specific caretaker or something. Like, if a certain little was gonna be talking and, like, processing stuff. And then we said, like, if that little asks you to, or if X, Y, or Z happens, play this song for that caretaker. Yeah, our current therapist didn't do virtual stuff at first, so we started out completely in person with him, but then when COVID stuff happened, he started doing virtual, and we've been virtual with him almost exclusively since then, and definitely since we moved, because we're not as close to his office anymore. Which has been kind of nice because we set it up so that our same streaming software that we're using right now controls our camera feed for the video calls that we do for therapy. So we switch everyone's name and picture and everything, just like we do for streams and videos. That sounds horrible. I'm sorry. I'd like to think we would be better at advocating for ourselves now than we were when a lot of our bad therapy experiences happened. But I worry that we won't have improved as much in that area if Jaden is still unavailable to do that job, you know? Yeah, it's something that we actually just said to our therapist when we were talking about possibly having to find a new one. There's still some stuff with insurance that we're trying out before making that decision, but we were talking to him about it. And we specifically said that we don't understand how so many people can become therapists, counselors, whatever, and be bad listeners, because that seems like the core skill needed for that profession. Like, everything else is built on that. And, like, if there are aspects of being a good listener that you struggle with, working on those things and accommodating those things when needed. Like, for instance, if you have trouble remembering information that someone shares with you, take good notes and refresh your memory when you need to. But we're worried that if we found a new therapist, they would either, like, have a lot of, like, stigma ideas about DID and would be uncomfortable working with it, or would be trying to convince us we didn't have it or whatever. Or even if it wasn't that they would try to push, like, fusion or something. Or try to force too much structure on it in some ways that would involve, like, trying to pressure us to switch or even trigger the alter who's supposed to be in therapy that day in order to fit their plan that they had, you know? Yeah, I guess it would make sense for there to be a category of any profession, really, that doesn't care about actually doing it well, but only cares about doing it, like, well enough that they don't lose that job, you know? There are certainly many therapists who should not still have their license. We're also worried that we would have, like, consent related issues with system stuff, that a new therapist might not take the consent of different alters seriously, or might like decide that one of us is the real person and the rest of us are not supposed to be taken seriously or whatever, which would be interesting because they would have to arbitrarily choose between, like, Aura and Anna at least, because Aura was not our first main host, but Anna isn't currently hosting at all. So, like, I don't know how they would arbitrarily choose between both of them, and both of them have also split before. So, like, if that was a deciding factor, that wouldn't help. But, like, if I, like, shared information about my trauma, for instance, and they just, like, told anyone else in the system they felt like about my trauma, that would also be a big problem. So yeah, if we do have to look for a new therapist, at the very least, we'll be preparing a lot of, like, questions to ask and red flags to watch for ahead of time that we'll have in front of us when we see a new therapist. And something else we've talked to our current therapist about is that if we have to do that, we might still see him sporadically during the process of looking for a new therapist. Like maybe we'll see him once a month or something until we find a new therapist we like, so that we can like talk to him about problems that come up or things like that. We also have all the general worries of like someone overreacting, I guess, essentially to like passive ideation and trying to like hospitalize us for it when we don't need that. But yeah, pushing transition is really weird. Why would someone do that? Yeah, there's so many things like that. Like, we could like think that we were liking a therapist for a while, and then something like fictives comes up for the first time, and then they might be like, well, that's not real. And we'd be like, okay, well, we don't want to change our therapist, but our insurance had to change because we just got on disability, and we're trying to find out if he's going to be able to take our new insurance or not. Even if he is able to soon but not yet, we would still stay with him. We would we would figure out with him a way to like pay in installments or whatever in the meantime, and just paying out of pocket until he can take our insurance. But if he's never going to be able to, we can't financially justify paying out of pocket when finding a therapist who can take our insurance would be free. So that's the only reason, like, barring something really bad happening where he suddenly isn't a good therapist for us for some reason. That's the only thing that's making us consider changing therapists. We don't want to. And if we can stay with him, we will. But we can't use our old insurance because we don't qualify for it if we're able to get different insurance instead, and we automatically get insurance through disability now. So that's the only reason. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, I didn't think to explain that. Because of how low our income was, we were getting help, like tax credits, to help pay for the insurance that we had. But we're not allowed to get help paying for it if we're able to have other insurance, in this case through disability, but also if we got insurance through a job or anything, we wouldn't still qualify to be able to do it that way. And it's way too much to pay out of pocket for. So we're going down to once a week instead of twice a week in the meantime, while we try out some of the options to see if they might work for figuring out insurance stuff. And if none of them do, then we will have to talk about finding a new therapist. And I'm worried that we're gonna get too overwhelmed and or frustrated with any bad experiences we have in that process, and that will end up just not being in therapy for a while. Just feels like such a silly reason to have to stop getting treatment that's helping, you know? But it's still possible that we'll be able to keep seeing him. And even if we can't, it's technically also possible that we will very quickly find another therapist we like a lot and build up that trust fairly quickly. And especially if our current therapist knows anyone who does take our new insurance and could recommend someone specific for us, because that would go a long way. At the very least, we'd be a lot less worried about like the straight up malpractice type stuff that happens so often. Our therapist has passed so many of our tests. Michael and then Jaden later has given our current therapist many, many, many tests, and he's passed almost all of them immediately, and a few of them passed like the follow-ups to them, you know? Yeah. Insurance stuff should be so much simpler than it is. But like Michael at the time walked into our intake session with our current therapist years ago, having never met him, any of that, with a list of things to like ask him about and set boundaries about immediately. And one of the biggest parts of that test was to see, like, if he would be flexible enough with whatever his plan had been for an intake to let us basically take control of the session and just ask him a bunch of questions to find out if we would be, like, if he would be a good fit for a therapist for us. And this was before we were talking to him about any system stuff. And he handled it really well. And Michael was really frustrated that he didn't fail any of the tests that first day. We are talking to our therapist about what the options are. There are some insurance things that we're trying to see if they're going to work. And then after that, he would already be giving us a discount if we were, like, if it wasn't going to go through insurance. Based partly on how, like, regularly and consistently we've been seeing him, but that discount would still be, I think, 10 times more per session than our copay on our old insurance was, and our new insurance would have a copay of 0. Yeah. Michael believed for a long time that if people passed all of his tests, that it meant either that his tests didn't do a very good job, or that that person was a very good manipulator. Which was true some of the time. Michael didn't actually start to relax about that until our therapist started sometimes failing tests, but then responding well when we called him out on it. Because that's also a really important thing to know, is how a therapist will react if you call them out on something or, like, tell them not to do a thing they just did. Because some therapists would take that as, like, an ego attack and get, like, pretty defensive about it, you know? Charlie's snoring. It looks like the mic's picking up on it at least a little. Because, like, most people, even in a situation like that, are gonna have a bad day where they respond to something in a way that they wouldn't normally. Yeah, I think we would probably make at least one video about that process if we end up having to do that. And it might end up, at least in part, being like a list of bad experiences we've had. And then if we finally find one that we like, saying some of the things that went right instead of what went wrong the other times. Like saying what were the early green flags, you know? Like calling different alters by their name instead of our body name would be a big green flag, you know? And we make it, if we keep doing this same virtual thing, like if we were doing it that same way, we make it really easy. Because it's not like I'm asking them to memorize a bunch of names and then correctly guess which one they're supposed to currently use, you know? Putting it right next to my face. You'd have to almost go out of your way to call me the wrong name, you know? I think we'd be very likely to stick with virtual, if at all possible. Partly for that reason. It's easier physically. It's very often hard for us to leave the house, so it's a lot easier to not miss a bunch of appointments that way. But it's a lot easier to show who's fronting and everything. It's easier to just have all of our stuff already around us if we need anything for grounding or whatever, than like packing a bag full of everything that we might need. We have also several times used the like pause screen function on here that we use for streams. And muting obviously along with that, the same way we would for a stream if someone needs to switch and doesn't want the therapist like looking at them while they're having like a flashback or whatever it is, which is really, really nice to be able to do that. There's also a lot of things that we can talk to our therapist about currently, where we can talk around the thing that we're talking about, because we've had that really hard conversation of saying what that thing is with him once, maybe twice. But with a new therapist, we'd have to have that really hard conversation again for the first time, you know? Like some trauma information that we've shared with him. If we want to keep processing any of that, we'd have to see another therapist's first reaction to that information and deal with any questions they might have and everything. I mean, it's video sessions, but I get that it's probably not for everybody. But we feel a lot more comfortable, which makes it easier for us to talk about things, especially really hard things to talk about, because we feel safer as a starting point. It's a lot easier to like for instance, if I start talking about something and I need to stop, And like worst case scenario, if I'm picturing my therapist not letting me stop talking about it, I can end the video call and he has no access to me of any kind. I don't have to stand up, get my stuff together, and try to walk out while he argues with me, you know? Our therapist would never do that, but like in that mindset, if we're worrying about that, it feels safer if we have like an easier escape like that. I don't know how much that has benefited from the fact that we had face-to-face sessions with him for years before it switched to virtual. Maybe we'll end up finding out that it's harder for us to like build trust with a new therapist over virtual, but at the same time we started our relationship with our partner system completely virtually. So I kind of doubt that that would be that big of a problem. Unless it was like on the therapist's end, if they couldn't like if they weren't as good at their job virtually, you know? But physically, especially, it is so much easier to roll out of bed, throw a hoodie on, and sit down at our desk than it is to get up, get completely dressed head to toe, get everything together we might need, including Charlie. There's a lot more we have to do with Charlie to leave the house. Primal Pack has to be available to drive us somewhere because we can't drive, and it has to line up with the time where we are physically able to walk down the stairs that are outside of our apartment. So we would miss so many sessions if we had to physically go somewhere. But I can think of all kinds of reasons where it wouldn't be as good of an option for other people. Like, people who are uncomfortable with cameras generally would probably have a harder time with an online session. It can be disruptive sometimes if technology issues are happening, which can be a little frustrating and stressful. Or especially if you don't have a good place to do it that feels like safe enough and with enough privacy. Like if we were still living with family and weren't comfortable with them potentially overhearing anything we said to our therapist. All kinds of stuff. But I'm definitely glad it's an option for the people who benefit from it, you know? And hopefully by now, most of the people who are still offering virtual have like a few years of practice at it and are better at it than they were when they were kind of forced to do it during lockdowns and everything. And that the people who never really got a hang of it probably don't offer it anymore because they don't need to in order to still have their practice make any money, you know? But maybe we'll find out that that's not at all true, and we will try a bunch of new therapists virtually and find out that they are really bad at virtual sessions. I don't know. I do think I'm gonna start wrapping up though, because I think we should probably eat something. That sounds so stressful, Ghost. I'm sorry. Yeah, that makes sense, Mia. Yeah, like I said, all kinds of reasons where it would be better or worse for different people, but I'm glad the option exists. There was even a period of time before we moved where we were doing a mix of both with our current therapist, and he could be really flexible with it, where like if we woke up and we didn't feel like we were physically going to be able to go that day, especially because going in person required us to wake up at least an hour earlier, I think, to get ready and to physically drive there. We would text him that morning and be like, hey, I need more sleep. Can we switch today to virtual? And he would just change it over and it wouldn't make much difference to him. He just needed enough heads up to send us a link, you know? Yeah, I'm glad that we ended up having some stuff to talk about, and hopefully we'll be able to get back on top of filming and streaming more often. And thanks for hanging out, talking with us, and we will do more stuff soon. I'm gonna do the end screen thing, I think.